was the official documenting photographer for the Shroud of Turin Research Project. Shroud of Turin Research Project was the first and only scientific team ever to be given permission to do an in-depth examination of the Shroud of Turin.
No one thought the shroud would reveal its mysteries like this. Yet, instead of ancient texts or faded ink, it's the microscopic fibers themselves that are telling the story, more powerfully than any history book ever has. What makes it even more astonishing is this. Some of the DNA traces found within those tiny threads are incredibly rare. In fact, certain markers seem to have survived in a way that modern science still doesn't fully understand, let alone reproduce.
The shroud is an image of a crucified man with wounds that correspond to the brutality that Jesus of Nazareth experienced.
So why do you think it's real?
They cannot explain how the image is in the shroud.
This detail matters more than most people realize. It shows that the image on the fabric isn't the only mystery that defies explanation. There's something else there, something just as extraordinary. While rumors continue to swirl, one thing many researchers agree on is that the genetic material discovered on the cloth could completely reshape our understanding of history. And at the center of it all stands a determined photographer, suddenly confronted with evidence that challenges everything we thought was possible. The story goes back to 1978, when a group of highly respected scientists traveled to Italy, carrying enough equipment to set up a full laboratory. Among them was Barry Schwartz, a professional technical photographer who had worked with organizations like NASA and was accustomed to documenting things most people would never get the chance to see. At the time, he was a complete skeptic. He was confident that within a few hours of examining the cloth, he would expose it as a medieval hoax. In his mind, someone had simply painted a convincing image to deceive the public centuries ago. He even joked with his colleagues that the trip was basically a free vacation to Italy, and that they would wrap up their work and head home before the week ended. But everything shifted the moment he entered the room where the shroud was kept. The mood felt different. Serious, almost overwhelming. Spread out before him was a long linen cloth, about 14 feet in length and 3 feet wide. On it appeared the faint outline of a man who had clearly endured intense physical suffering. What he saw in that moment was far from the simple forgery he had expected. Schwartz carefully set up his cameras and began capturing thousands of high-resolution photographs. His goal was simple: find the tiny brush strokes or traces of paint that would prove the whole thing was a forgery. He used specialized lighting and filters designed to detect even the faintest hint of pigment or dye hidden in the threads. But here's what stunned him. No matter how closely he examined it, the image refused to give up that kind of evidence. There were no brush marks, no pooled paint, no signs that any liquid substance had been